walla walla do, walla walla do, walla da do mo da go ma, walla walla do, walla walla do, walla da do mo da go ma, walla walla do, walla walla do, walla da do mo da go ma, walla walla do, walla walla do, walla da do mo da go ma. Being stuck on towers, scraping the sky, they built a glass paradise way too high, then the bubble pop. The silent sound of foreclosure signs are all over town. I got a bad loan, a promise they believe. Now the dream is over, they're feeling deceived. I watch from the sidelines, patient and cool, playing by a different set of rules. All I wanna do is, and I wanna do is take the window. All I wanna do is, and I'll cash up high and watch the funds grow. This is straight up capitalism. Chick, chick, boom, sweeping up the pieces with the concrete. Get a call from my contact, a whisper on the phone. Another empty unit, the speculator is gone. He says a shame with a crocodile tear as he sells me their future for a fraction of last year. The paperwork's easy, a cash only deal. That heartbreak and panic is my next big steal. They get a cardboard box, I get the ocean view. It's nothing personal, it's just what I do. And I catch your body, take your condo. And I catch your body and watch the dance floor. This is straight up capitalism. Chick, chick, boom, sweeping up the pieces with the concrete broom. When I do wrong, when I do wrong, when I do wrong. Some myself ask for a quick return. Some I rent out, let the lesson burn. They call it a crisis, I call it a sale. In this concrete jungle, the strongest prevail. No funny business, I am the business. They sold you a lead, now I'm the witness. Seek your condo. Seek your condo. Watch the funds grow. Watch the funds grow.
Happy Thursday, Miami. This is Condo Capitalism, a conversation about what's going on in the condo market from a distressed perspective. We're going to be talking about some of the opportunities, some of the places possibly where you need to be looking if you are a buyer. And if you're on the south side, we're giving you a heads up as to those properties you might want to be looking to transact or trade or basically unload because of what's going on in the marketplace. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, and the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm going to be joined today by veteran real estate expert Jack McCabe of McCabeResearch.com. Jack's running a little bit late. He's going to be joining us at 4:20. Right now, it's a little bit past 4 o'clock. So in the first 15 minutes of our conversation, I'm going to go over the latest data, the data that is showing that condo pricing has actually fallen year over year in a bunch of key markets. South Florida overall, greater downtown Miami, Miami Beach, as well as Sunny Isles Beach. We took a look at Sunny Isles Beach, Miami Beach, and greater downtown Miami for this week's podcast. We wanted some markets that were kind of indicative of what's going on in the overall marketplace. Greater downtown Miami is going to be an area where a lot of investors go. It's high density, tighter units. Miami Beach is going to be an area where a lot of second home buyers go. Those people looking kind of for their beachfront cottage. Those units are not necessarily going to be efficient. They are not necessarily going to work for investors. But, however, they are a place that is attractive for a second home buyer, maybe a retiree, somebody along that line. And then finally, Sunny Isles Beach. Sunny Isles Beach is very popular because it's got the Miami Beach vibe, but it's got much more new construction. And as a result of that, especially the billionaires, the wealthy type, a lot of them head up to Sunny Isles Beach. So between those three markets, we're going to be able to give you some context as to what's going on in the marketplace today. What we did is we look at, let me just kind of lay out the scene or sort of the environment. Generally speaking, November through April is the winter buying season. That is the time when people come to town. They come here for an event. They come here to go on vacation. Maybe they come to go on a cruise. While they're here, a lot of them come to the conclusion that, hey, I really like this place. I can make it work. Maybe I should buy a second home. Maybe I ought to move here. And what they start doing is while they're here, they start looking around for real estate, primarily condos, because they're turnkey. You turn the key, you leave, and pretty much it's all under control. You don't have to deal with the gardener. You don't have to deal with the hurricane shutters, none of that type of stuff. Condo is pretty much turnkey. You walk away. So people start looking during the winter. Inevitably, if they move forward and they look to buy, they end up transacting more often than not in the summer buying season. So winter you shop, summer you transact. So what we did for the first half of this winter buying season, November, December, and January, we pulled the data. We're now halfway through the winter buying season when, if you are a seller, this is the ideal time to sort of catch the attention of a would-be buyer who's in town for something else and they decide to go ahead and look for a condo. That's typically the way it works out. So what we did, because now we're in February, we're on the other side of effectively the winter buying season. The symbolic midway point of the winter buying season is typically President's Day weekend. This year it's February the 16th, and it is effectively 2 weeks from now. And the way you know the symbolic midway point of the winter buying season is you have the Coconut Grove Arts Festival as well as Miami Beach International Boat Show. That is when South Florida is at its peak. Everybody's in town. The hotel rooms are some of the highest you'll find throughout the entire year. And people are in town. They're doing a variety of different things. And typically what happens is after the boat show, after the Coconut Grove Arts Festival, if you are a seller, this is the time when you probably have a conversation with your realtor, and that realtor tells you, listen, we haven't got any contracts left. We got about 90 days or so, much less, but basically we're on the wrong side of the bell curve. And if we really want to get this thing under contract and try to have it transact, we're going to need to adjust the price. So a pivot in pricing typically happens in and around the Miami Beach Boat Show and the Coconut Grove Arts Festival. But leading up to that, because we're in February, we went ahead and we pulled the numbers. And what the numbers show is that we are seeing an erosion in price per square foot, as well as in some markets, price per door. The average for each of these markets, taking a look at the condo side, we're looking at it from the condo overall as well as the vintage. Vintage is going to be those condos at least 30 years old. Those are the ones under greater scrutiny as a result of the post-Surfside legislation. Remember, back in June of 2021, a tower went down. It was called Champlain Tower South. Nearly 100 people died. A $1 billion settlement was paid out to the families of the victims. And because of that, a bunch of changes were put in place. And the primary changes are inspections need to be done now effectively every 10 years of one of these buildings. The one that's done every 10 years is called the Structural Integrity Reserve Study. You bring in a licensed architect, a licensed engineer. They come in there, they assess everything. They give you a shelf life as to how long everything is going to last, whether it's a roof, the structure, electrical, any of that type of stuff. Then they turn it over to the money people. Money people figure out what it's going to cost. They give the condo association a report, and the report basically says how much money needs to be raised and what you need to address. That then leads to special assessments and or reserves being collected. All of that went into effect. Hardcore, hard contract, no way to defer it like they used to. It all went into effect in 2026. And as a result of that, we're seeing an increased cost of condo living. And what that's doing is forcing sellers who are cash strapped to head for the exits and those who don't want to live through the process. I did a podcast with a general contractor that specializes in restoration work. And what he told me is every $2 million of construction work for some of these restorations, it's going to be 1 year of labor. That's how long it takes. Now, the cost is the cost, but how long does it actually take to fix it up? So he's saying it's about a year. So every $2 million is a year of work. And if you're living in one of these buildings and you want to go out there and hang out by the beach on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and if the contractor's falling behind or if they got too much work, they might be showing up on a Saturday or Sunday swinging a hammer, try to get stuff done. So these are some of the factors you need to keep in mind when you're going ahead and looking at some of these condos. So Structural Integrity Reserve study every 10 years. So year 10, you got one. Year 20, you got one. And when you get to 30, you get the big boy. The big boy is called a milestone inspection at year 30. That's when they roll up the sleeves. They really get in there and they figure out what exactly needs to be addressed, how it needs to be addressed, and what it's going to cost. And that typically leads to special assessments. Our ballpark figure on special assessments on this milestone inspection at year 30. Remember, year 30 is when we deem it vintage. Vintage is the nice way of saying an older condo. That's the name that we've sort of coined, and others are picking it up throughout. So vintage is 30 years or more, and that's when the big special assessments typically come. Our ballpark figures are if the building is up to 4 stories tall, you're probably looking at about $25,000 per unit in special assessments. If it goes between 5 and 14, looking at about $65,000. And then finally, 15 stories or more, you're looking at $100,000 special assessment. Typically, unit owners are given a year to pay. If they can't pay, the condo association can move to foreclose on them. even if they have a mortgage. And if they do have a mortgage, the association ends up with the condo. And then after that, the bank, who basically had provided the financing to the unit owner, they then will move to foreclose on the association and ultimately end up with the unit. That's the way it's been explained to me by attorneys. If you have any questions about that, I would encourage you to check with your attorney, because I'm not an attorney. But that being said, the cost of condo living has gone up because we also have the insurance. The insurance is starting to pull back, but it's still excessively high, effectively where it was before the Surfside disaster. And because of that, people are heading for the exits. And what's happening as they head to the exits, and then on the other side, what we got going on is we got affordability issues. We all know, if you've been to the grocery store, how expensive it is. We also know consumer confidence is at some of the lowest point it's been in decades. And we are also dealing with the absorption of the tariffs. April 1st of last year, tariffs in the United States were 4% on average, according to Morgan Stanley. April the 2nd, they averaged 17%. According to Jerome Powell, the outgoing Federal Reserve chairman, all of these tariffs have not yet been introduced and have not yet been embraced yet by the consumer. The companies have been covering it. So Chairman Powell has said in the past, we will not see the entire tariffs play out probably till the end of 2026. So by the time we go into 2027, all of the tariffs should have been passed on to the consumer. Because remember, when you bring in product from abroad, the people picking it up, they got to pay the tariff. And then they either absorb it or they pass it on to the consumer. And according to Jerome Powell, what's been happening is the companies have been absorbing most of it and passing some of it on to the consumer. So that's a long way of saying affordability is an issue for many people. And at the same time, you got rising costs associated with condos. So what's happening is people are heading for the exit. So we got about 10 minutes roughly till Jack joins us. Let me go ahead and get into some of the data. This is data that I pulled. Jack's not involved with the data. This is my data. When he comes on, we're going to be talking about what he sees for the second half of the winter buying season, which effectively is November through April. By the time you get to May, it's humid, it's hot, there's hurricane warnings, and you don't have as many people in town. And therefore, it becomes a little bit of a more difficult sell to out-of-towners. You'll get the local transaction, but you're not going to get the same out-of-towner flow that you got kind of right now when people are in town and they want to go look at condos and they love it and, they deserve it because they work hard. So let's go ahead and we'll pull up some of the numbers. I should tell you that you're watching this live, and I do these podcasts weekdays at 4 o'clock. I'm always live streaming. Once the podcast is over, we then do some editing, primarily just for looks, maybe sound. So we clean it up a little bit, and then we make it available on demand. When it's on demand, it's only available if you're a member of the Miami Condo Investing Club. To get information about the club, go to miamicondo.club. And I should also tell you, too, if you are in the market for a condo, we recommend you find a building. Once you got a building or two, or preferably 5, then you pinpoint a unit. If you go around chasing units, chances are you're going to waste a lot of time. You might get a unit that you love under contract and then come to realize when you're doing your due diligence, when you're looking at that declaration of condominium, that the building doesn't necessarily work for you. So what we say is find a building. Once you got the building, then you can focus in on the units. There's too many condos in South Florida and in the state of Florida. So the key is think about like some of these dating apps. You want to swipe left on everything, and whatever's left, that's where you start to focus in and really do your due diligence, because otherwise you simply don't have enough time. So the reason I bring this up is every Saturday I do a tour. I do a walking tour of different markets. This week we're doing the Biscayne Boulevard corridor in Greater Downtown Miami, which is going to be Edgewater, Midtown, and Wynwood. Next week, we're doing a Coral Gables condo correction walking tour. They're always 10. They always go till 1 or so. We walk about 4 miles. It's a leisurely pace. We take stops along the way. I give everybody a handout of all the condos in the market, and I teach you how to analyze condo buildings. You could be on the buy side. You could be on the sell side. You could be a realtor, any and all of that. We're basically just providing the information. We collect it. We make it available for those people who kind of take the tour. So if you want information about the tour, go to miamicondo.club or go to directly to the ticket seller, which is called, the website would be miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com, miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. So let me go ahead and pull out the information from which markets are down and how much are they down price per square foot. And then shortly thereafter, we should have Jack joining us. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you all right now, and I hope you enjoy what we're about to discuss. So we're going to start off with the South Florida market in general. This is a report I put out earlier this week. So this is basically just a recap. What's going to be new is going into the individual markets. Let me clean this thing up a little bit just so it looks a little bit better. Sorry about that. Bear with me. There we go. We're a little bit better. Let me see if I can jack it up too in size. Yep, that'll work. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So what you're going to see in red effectively is going to be where it's down year over year. So what we're looking at is we're looking at condos in the Tri-County area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County.